I feel like saying hello again just for the video. Hello. Anyway, so as I was saying, the class is going to be a friendly one. Now, that's not to say that it isn't going to be work. Uh, it is going to be work. But, again, if you like chopping wood, you go to work to chop wood, you might not see it as work. So I don't even know how to discuss this. I know some of you are going to absolutely love this. There's usually a core group by the end of the semester that just can't get enough of it. That may include you. I'd like to say others in here have taken this class for all kinds of respectable college kinds of reasons. You wanted to get your 12 credits or your however many credits, and my class fit your schedule. Or someone told you, or you're being forced to take it. It somehow relates to your true love, and you were forced to take it. I don't judge that because I remember college clearly. Obviously, I never left college. So I really do know what it's like. So I do want to address a couple things. First off, let me just say something quickly. We have a lot of tech stuff to get out of the way because this is a remote experience that we're sharing. We're not at the buildings. We're not in the shared computer lab. So we've got a bunch of things to iron out. But before we get to that, I want to just say a little bit about the heart of the matter. Multimedia is an art form, or more properly, it's the collision of art forms in plural. So there's going to be a number of different art forms that come into play in this class. This class traditionally is a hands-on class, which basically means we make stuff. So, in terms of survey, like, oh, there was this great artist I want to show you, I may do that now and then. But really, most of this class is learning how to do stuff, and you do that with me. So I hope that's fun. Today I'm going to lecture and field questions, but I'm hoping that by Tuesday, being a Tuesday, Thursday class, that we're ready to actually get started. So I've got a whole bunch of things that I need to introduce you to, but I do want to start with two main themes. It's a creative class about making things. It's very modern, ultimately contemporary way of creating. And the other thing that I'd like to say is you got a friendly teacher here. I've been teaching forever. I have no idea how many students. I would tend to think 5,000, 10,000 students by now. I've been around the block. I cared about all 5,000 or 10,000, and I pre-care about everyone in this class, right? I'm a very hands-on teacher, even remotely. So be prepared for that. I do want to say one thing about learning differences, and one thing I like about teaching in this method, we'll be using Zoom and some other things, is, we all learn differently. And, you go to a classroom and sometimes we're all forced to learn the same way. You can't just get up and take a breath, which you can do here. You can't rewind the teacher in the classroom. That's my favorite thing about this. I'm going to videotape every class. So usually that day's class will go online in about 1 hour. So if we end on time, and I will really avoid keeping you late, but say we end exactly on time, 2:40. At about 3:40, it'll be available again on YouTube. So I want to say what's really cool about that. If you come to class and you rocked, you got it all, you took notes, you joined me, you may never go to YouTube. But you had a bad day, you had a headache during class, or whatever went wrong. Your internet connection went bad. Happens to us all. You just go later to YouTube. I've had students last semester, I taught over the summer, by the way, so I'm talking about the summer now. A surprising number of people watched the classes twice. I was surprised. I mean, they must have been the most excited types to do that, but they would actually come to class and then watch it again later, or they'd look for the part they didn't understand. So I think that's incredible. And when we all go back to the physical classroom, when COVID is a distant memory, I'm gonna miss the YouTube part of this. And we're all gonna see how valuable that is. We may need a third option in the future. Live classes with a camera on the teacher or something like that the entire time. I don't know. So I am counting roughly how many people we have. I'm just going to see, compared to how many people we have enrolled. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 16. We have 19 people here, including myself. That's 18. I think there's more like 25 enrolled. That means there's 7 people. Do I have to admit people again? It looks like things have changed a little on Zoom since my last class. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think just about everybody's here. You know, one worry that I really had was the wrong Zoom link was on my handout. So I don't know if any of you clicked the wrong Zoom link, and then it was really only up for 5 minutes. But I think anyone who went to my handout in that 5 bad minutes is now flipping out. And I sent an alert to everybody only 10 minutes ago, fessing up that the problem was the error was mine. But we've got a crowd here right now, so I do believe that's everybody. Folks, I want to say something to those of you who are late. That's unforgivable. No, I'm just kidding. It's day 1. Coming late is not a big deal. Take a deep breath. My own daughter, the professor's daughter, was late for her first class today. Didn't affect her. She loved her class, so that was great. Also in Zoom. Okay, so let's just start over, but to cut to the quick. So everybody, welcome to Intro to Multimedia. Multimedia. Now, a medium in the art world means the material that you use. So you talk to a painter, you might say, what kind of paint? And if they say oil, that's their medium. They say acrylic or watercolors or whatever, that's a medium. The writer, it's the word. You know, you could argue the computer or the pen and the paper. So this is a multimedia class. There's one thing that's shared though about all the media that we're going to be working with. They're all screen-based. So it's pretty interesting that you're taking a screen-based class about material. So again, keep an ear out to noises if your room is noisy. I'm so bad at pronouncing names, and I'm used to people calling me Ira and Ira. By the way, it's Ira. Remy Lacun, can you turn off your mic? We're hearing all kinds of squelch. Thank you. We'll get the hang of this. Can I ask you guys a question? First off, one invitation. Those of you kind enough to leave your camera on, thank you. Really, thank you. I teach because I love sharing with creative people, but I like sharing with gray boxes a hell of a lot less. So if your video's on, you're doing me a favor. I kind of feed off of your reactions, and thank you. On the other hand, if you're crazy shy, you just can't stand it, or you're having the world's worst hair day, all right, I get it. You could turn off the video. I won't hold it against you. Some of you won't turn it on the whole semester. I get it. I'm on your side. You know, as I was starting to say earlier, learning differences include that, right? But if you can get it to leave your camera on, I appreciate it. The mics are a little more touchy, as you could tell, right? There's feedback issues and noisy brothers and sisters and dogs. So with the mic, you might have to turn it on and off. About chat, I just want to say something. You know, it's funny. I thought I had Remy. I'm going to call you Remy till you correct me and tell me how to pronounce your name properly. People are having a hard time getting admitted. Remy, you must be in the class, otherwise you couldn't be chatting me. Sorry, guys. Listen, folks, I got to warn everybody. It's very hard for me to juggle the chats as well as the audio as well. I'm a very intense teacher, so there's going to be a lot of teaching going on. Whenever possible, use your mic. If you can't, then by all means, chat me. Some of you will get very friendly with me and you'll help me out. You'll be like, Ira, you missed some chats. and I'll go check them. I really don't mind a hand, right? Guys, we're gonna have to be very generous with each other, right? Because we all have very different circumstances at home. So for a little while, at very least, I'm gonna ask you all to be real community players and look out for your community, right? So be patient, is what I'm trying to say. Um, Remy and anyone else who's dealing with the Chromebook versus telephone issue, and would like to say a couple quick things. About listening to lectures or joining me in a lecture, really any device is going to work. You can use your phone. So if you're having a hard time with a Chromebook right now, use your phone for today. So because for today, we're not actually going to do any hands-on. I'm going to just introduce the themes. If at all possible, it'd be great if everyone was ready to work with me by Tuesday, and we'll see if that's possible because this is a very strange semester right now, right? So still in the waiting room on your Chromebook. So let me just figure out how to work. Guys, give me a second here. There's so much to learn. All right, give me 1 second. I'm trying to be helpful. Let's see, here's my participants. Give me a second, guys. All your teachers are well trained in their subjects, but Zoom is a universe of its own. All right, I think I took care of that. I think it's a little easier to wait on your professor or on other students at home. You know, if you have a cat, you could secretly keep it in your lap and get some cat therapy while you're waiting. Anyway, let me tell you how this is going to work. Most of you already got a taste of it already. Each class, you're going to go to iraworks.com/BMCC, just as you did today. The handout will be posted that day, sometimes 1 minute before class, right? The most important thing in an immediate way is the handout includes the Zoom link. Now, this is what I intend. I would like to have the same Zoom link for the entire semester, right? Now, today's might be different because I don't know if it's Zoom that changed or what happened, but my usual Zoom link didn't work for this class, so I had to quickly make a new one. So check the handout. You know, I will include a tested link every week in that online handout. So let me screen share with you, which will help you get a feel for how this is going to go. All right. So I'm switching to screen sharing right now. And when you screen share with me, which you may, you'll get a bunch of choices. You're always going to choose the one called desktop. Right now, it's my turn. And you should all be looking at my screen right now. And I want to show you something important. Let me get this open. So can you all see my screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Yes.
Excellent. So this is where you're going to come each class on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This is going to be in real time at 1 o'clock, right? And here's going to be everything that you need. This is a different class down here. So the syllabus is here. We may look at it together, but I'm probably going to tell you everything in a more conversational way. What's more important are the ones that are numbered. So class 1 is going to be followed until we have about 27 classes, the way it usually works out, right? It's over 15 weeks, but with holidays and all, it works out to be about 27 classes. So then I go to class 1. Now, most of the time, you'll see me do this right in front of everybody, right? Because I'm also using these links, right? So you already know about this one. This is the link that got you to the handout. So Tuesday, go to the same address, right? Choose class 2. It'll even have the date on it, and it'll take you to this handout. So it says here, go get the handout and leave it out. That makes sense. Then it says there will be assets most weeks. And I'll talk about the assets so you never have to worry on your own. But this is what I mean by that. When we do Photoshop, we're going to need photos to do Photoshop magic with. So I'm going to supply those photos. That's an asset. If we're making a website, we may need words to put on the website. I'm going to supply the words. That's an asset. If we do video together, same. I'm going to supply bits of video. So, because we'd be doing video editing, making a movie out of bits. So when I say assets, I mean parts. The parts will also be on the handout. Just like these links, there will be a link that says click here to get today's assets. Everybody with me? So what I'm trying to say is the handout's all powerful. You know, it's not just words, it's links. So as you can see, this is the link that got you here. With some luck, I'm going to keep the same link. I have a feeling I'm going to need to change it by Tuesday and keep that one for the rest of the semester. But you have no worries. It's always going to be on the handout. Now, I want to address something that is not my favorite part of the show this semester, about working at home. Now, folks, I really need everybody's deep attention on this one, right? We need proper computers for a flat out all computer class, right? This is a multimedia, digital media class, right? You could watch me on Zoom and talk to me on your phone or an iPad, but you can't do the work. So like I've seen some people get very crafty. They use the phone for one thing and a computer for everything else. I don't think that's really necessary. If you've got a suitable computer, you'll do it all in one spot. I'm going to be doing my demonstrations on the very same laptop that I'm using to Zoom with you right now. But I do need everyone in the room. Now I really need you to do this, and I need for you to do it today if you haven't already. About half the class already did it, right? At some point, I want you to come to this handout. You know how to get here and click this link. It's the tech survey. So bear with me for a minute while I tell you why this is so important. Folks, if you haven't noticed, we're living in mighty strange times, right? And you can't blame a teacher or a school or a mayor or a governor for not knowing what to do in a situation that has never happened. If we were attacked by space aliens, I wouldn't get mad at the mayor. You know, we're gonna have to figure it out. So really, we're still figuring out how to deal with a very difficult situation. All right, let me get to the point. That survey lets the boss of this whole department figure out what our technology problems are as a community. Now, some of you are very generous and some are probably very selfish because that's the way human nature goes. If you're one of these people who are really caring about others' rights, let's keep it small for a minute. Take the survey today because it's going to help the department to figure out how these classes can run better from a tech perspective. So it's going to ask you questions like, do you have a computer? Is it Mac? Is it Windows? It may ask you questions you don't know the answer to, and then you don't have to answer those. It's going to ask you how good your internet connection is. So the school could figure out how to spend money for you, for others, for next semester, right? And how to set it up so that we could actually continue to do this if we have to continue doing it this way. Please take the survey. This is the link. I want to move on to this information, which only arrived this morning, right? So I need to talk about the Chromebook question, right? Guys, give me a second before I go over those steps. Here's the deal. In my dreams, you're all on Macs. You're all on Apple computers on Macs. Why? Well, multimedia is usually done on a Mac. The labs at school are mostly Macs. Now I want to back up. How about Windows? Windows has caught up to the Mac completely, right? Completely, right? Windows is just as good. And in fact, some people debate that it's better in certain areas. For example, my animation lab at school runs Windows. So I would say both of those are the top-notch performers for what we're going to do. What about the Chromebooks? Now, I myself have never used a Chromebook. So it's going to be a real challenge for me to support those of you using Chromebooks. I'm going to do my best. But it's hard when I've never had my hands on one. School has not offered me one, right? Here's the next problem. Chromebooks don't load software. They load apps like your phone loads, but they don't know full-blown software. So how in the world can you take this class in a Chromebook if we need full-blown software? All right, guys, if I put any of you to sleep, this is the chance you got to wake up. Because this is going to affect Chromebook people, but also Mac people, and also Windows people. The way we're going to fly, at least the idea is, you're all going to log in from your device to the labs at school. Or this is pretty weird, right? That basically means you're going to log into a machine as though you're sitting in the lab at school. Now, this is going to be an adventure for all of us. It's another thing I've not gotten to do. The school is figuring it out over the last month. We're really close, but we're not ready as of today. I'm getting religious about Tuesday because I really want this to happen before Tuesday. So you're going to log into the computers. The questions you have, I don't have answers for, but here are my questions. Will you save files on the computers at school or the computers at home? How easy is it going to be to save on both? Will we always need to do that or only sometimes? So bear with me. A good example are the Adobe projects. So Adobe, as some of you know, owns Photoshop. And we use a lot of Photoshop. But Adobe owns other things that we're going to use. Like I'd like to use Adobe Premiere, a wonderful video editor that's also Adobe. So the school has accounts for us with what's called the Adobe Creative Cloud. Now, I think maybe 3 or 4 of you have your own subscription to the Adobe Creative Cloud. So you're going to have it kind of easy because you're going to just use your own subscription. The Adobe Creative Cloud includes all the popular Adobe programs, all the ones we need. So once the school's nailed this down, I have to share with you how you're going to do this from home. Now, theoretically, that's going to work on Macs, Windows, and Chromebooks, right? Forgive me for saying scary things like theoretically. Everything's theoretical to me till I get to try it, right? And I think a lot of you feel the same, right? So those of you with your cameras on, can you do me a favor just so I know, a little bit about what to expect? How many of you are on Chromebooks right now? Just, wave at me, you can give me a thumbs up. Okay, I got 1 so far. Okay. So you can put your hand down. I saw you, I believe. We just see, are there more people? Oh, this is a big class. Let's see if I can get everybody on screen at once. How many of you are on your cell phone right now? Well, I don't see any vertical pictures. So I guess anybody on a tablet, like an iPad? All right, I'm going to put this another way. How many people are currently, gotcha, Yazil. Okay, and I saw Isaiah too. How many of you are on a Mac or Windows right now? Oh, interesting. All right, so look, I don't want to spook anybody. Emoji thumbs up are good too. I haven't figured out how to do that. What are you guys gonna have to teach me later how to?
Reactions.
Reactions, yeah, no, but the teachers, mine doesn't have a reactions. I can't find the reactions button, but thank you. I'll poke around. So I just want to say, like, I honestly am excited about the adventure of how this is going to play out. I wish Adobe was giving you all free Creative Cloud access. So I don't want to bore you, so I'm going to keep it quick. They're a mega company, like one of those gigantic companies. In fact, they are by far and away king of all the software that digital artists use. So I'm talking about graphic designers, video people, animation people, web designers, illustrators, photographers. Adobe owns most of it. They were amazing in March when the whole COVID disaster started. And they just said you could all use it for free. And then amazingly, they stretched that out through half the summer, which was another miracle. And then they said, enough. And so now we're all stuck trying to figure out how to deal with a monopoly where not everyone wants to spend on it, right? So guys, if anyone has individual questions like, I'm hell-bent on becoming a designer. Should I just go ahead and get my own subscription? You could ask me, you could even email me. I just want to say in short, those of you who are really dying to go into any of the arts digitally, you're going to need Adobe Creative Cloud sooner better than later. You know, I think it's less than 20 bucks a month for students. Anyone happen to know what it costs? And some of you might. All right. Anyway, I'll keep you updated as I know. It's not a lot of money, but sometimes you're broke and it is a lot of money. Also, if you're a liberal arts major or you're just undecided, why spend that money now? So I'll keep you posted about the remote access. So let me wind this down, right? I'm talking too much. I'm going to go back to the handout for a sec. I've been looking at you. So the tech survey you all have to take, everyone. Please be sure you take it before the day is out, unless you took it already, right? That's general, and that's for the whole community's sake. If you need a computer at the moment, this class, MMP100, is being given Chromebooks. The head of the department knows what we do very well, and he thinks that the Chromebook is going to work for everything that I need, for you and I. And I've got my fingers crossed that that's accurate. So that would be first step. If you do not have a computer of any sort, right? You don't have a Mac, you don't have Windows, then the school is going to loan you a Chromebook. You're going to email this address from my handout. You're going to give your full name, your full CUNY ID, and you're going to have to say that you're requesting a Chromebook. Otherwise, they're going to send you an iPad. So you got to be sure to actually say you need the Chromebook. Then Student Affairs is going to write you back with a link that tells you how to register for the Chromebook. You're going to follow these steps. Now, I really got to be honest with you. It's new, right? We all have questions about it. A lot of this class didn't raise their hand, right? Some of you already took care of it, right? So I'm not going to keep talking about this because I'm going to lose the majority. I do not want to let go of the minority. If anybody in here, your computer just broke day before class, you know, or other expenses came your way, I'm not leaving you out, but I can't keep on talking about it. So I want to tell you what I would like for you to do. There's 3 steps that you're concerned with right now, right? So let's be clear. Everyone takes the survey, right? Anyone who needs a computer now, right, follows B. And you really, if you haven't done it, do it today, please. Lastly, you should also let me know. And I want to tell you why. If I have no idea that you're stuck and I'm moving ahead, and you're feeling left behind because you don't have a proper computer, I can't help if I don't even know what the problem is, right? So if you want my support, keep me informed. And the best way to do that, because I have a couple of hundred students at a time, is to send me an email. So that would be this 3rd step. Big nuisance, right? Big nuisance. But so is a pandemic, right? So this is life right now. At least we're not wearing masks, you know? Okay, so here's my information. This is the email that I want everyone to use when reaching out to me for any purpose, right? You might notice it mentions the name of this class. This way I know exactly where you are and you don't have to tell me every time. You know, you just give me your full name and say, look, I want you to know that I'm waiting on a computer. You know, some of you may choose to buy your own because you wanted to do that anyway. You let me know that. Just let me know. I have a rough idea how many people need a little extra support so I can be supportive. Anybody have any questions right now about the whole technology question? No. So look, if you come up with one, again, use that email address, send me an email, I'll do my best to answer. The first thing is the machine. Mac, Windows, or Chromebook, right? If you're shopping for a computer, do yourself a favor, get yourself a Mac or Windows, right? The Chromebooks, they're good for lots of things, but they're really more like tablets that look like computers. In the long run, if you're buying something, get yourself a real computer if you can, right? If you can. If not, just follow those instructions. I'm going to move forward, right? Again, I will read my email for questions if anyone's feeling shy. but you just need to formulate your questions. One question we're all going to have is, how do we remotely access the software at school? Remote just means from home. How do we do it? You know, I will know more, hopefully by tomorrow, because I have class tomorrow. Definitely, I'm hoping by next time I see you on Tuesday. All right. Keep your eye out, though. I think a lot of you got that announcement from me, you know, that which I sent a week earlier. I'm going to be sending out announcements like that if I get news for you early. Okay, I'm going to move forward. So the handout is the center of all things. Let's move on. So here's a little list of the software that I expect to use in this class, that traditionally I use in this class. And you notice that there's two that are marked in blue, so I just want to say a little bit about that. This first thing is a code editor. And what a code editor is, it's just like Microsoft Word, right? Because you've all used Microsoft Word when you're writing a report. But it's like Microsoft Word made for code. So we're going to spend a certain number of classes on learning how to make websites using HTML. Now, if any of you have used HTML before, I think you're still going to like my class. I'm a particularly clear guy, and it'll help you be even clearer about what you know. If you've never used HTML before, you are so in the right place. You know why? It sounds like the nerdiest thing you could possibly do with your time. And it might be. But it's fun. I mean, you're going to be amazed at how quickly you could make a web page. And as soon as you realize that, it's going to happen in one day, you'll be like, I didn't know it was that easy. Just about everybody's going to say, well, but I want to make links. And I want photos. And I want a different font because this one's ugly. And I want everything to make it more beautiful. So we're going to include CSS. So HTML is a language, a very small programming language, technically a markup language we'll talk more about later. And CSS is its close cousin, which is called cascading style sheets. The key word is style. So if you're stylish, and a website should be, you need CSS, right? So we're going to be learning both those things, and they're typed in any number of free programs. By the way, free, right? So it means all of you who raised your hands that you currently have a computer, Mac, Windows particularly, you could just go get Sublime Text, right? I included a link right on the handout. You can get it whenever you want. We're not using it today. This is all starting next week, right? I want to say something about the next one down. But by the way, Chrome people are probably wondering, can I download it directly on the Chromebook? No, the answer is no, unfortunately. So we're going to need to get you remote access. You'll use your Chromebook through miracle of modern science, and you'll use Sublime through the school's labs. Sublime Text. It's a great thing. It's amazing that it's free. Next is a browser, Chrome. How many of you guys are in Chrome right now? The Chrome browser. So it's interesting, right? That like, I think at this point, over 90% of the world is in Chrome when they're on the internet. Some of you guys are on Safari. Maybe you got a Mac and never bothered to get your own browser and it came with Safari. Some of you are in Explorer. There are other browsers out there, right? And they'll all work for my class, by the way. They will all work, so I'm not going to be too uptight about it. But Chrome has a few advantages. One, you should see what I see, because I'm going to be using Chrome. Each browser's a little bit different. So with over 20 people in the class, I'm kind of trying to avoid too many variations. You can get Chrome for free. So if you don't have it, you go online, you do a search, free Chrome. It'll take you right to a link and you could download, get your own free version of Chrome. It is a superior browser. It's a little faster and a little more elegant. Guys, give me a second. I want to get used to checking my chats, which are just so stubborn. Oh my God. I kind of love Zoom, but there's some things about it that are just so weird. Where did my chat link go? All right, people who are chatting me, forgive me. Believe it or not, I'm an expert on this stuff. But as I said, not on Zoom. And I've taught more Zoom than most of my peers, and I'm still bumping around a little bit. All right. All right, chat people, just be tolerant. I'm gonna have to come back to that because I don't want to lose the momentum. All right, let's take another look back on the handout. We're going to be using a sound editing program. This is not in order, by the way, called Audacity, which is also free. And I've read an article about how to make that work on a Chromebook directly, even without remote accessing. When we get there, we'll talk about that and see if it's feasible. An imaging program, which is Photoshop, is an Adobe program. This is Adobe Animate, my favorite animation program. I'm sure I have some animators in the room. And Adobe Premiere Pro, wonderful video editors. You notice these three are all Adobe. So we're going to be using these through remote access, unless, of course, any of you have chosen to get your own subscription, right? And the choice is yours, right? So half free stuff, half not technically free, but free in a way. You paid your tuition, right? So provided that remote access works, we should be good. I should stop doing this. Doesn't it make you nervous when people do this? I better stop. All right. All right. My control bar came back miraculously. Comes and goes on its own. Give me 1 second to make sure people are chat happy. Nothing doing in chat land, not as far as I can see. All right, let's get back. I want to say a little bit about attendance. You can see I'm running right through this. The attendance question. So here's the lowdown. Historically, which in my world means before the pandemic, I was really uptight about attendance. You had 3 absences or your grade dropped to the floor. I think I had a 4 absence maximum for someone to fail the class. You can't go missing 10% of a class or 15% of a class and expect to pass. But I've opened my mind to different learning methods. And this is a case where a disaster taught me all kinds of stuff. Like, what if your job just keeps calling you in at strange times and you need that income? You know, what if your triplets just don't stop screaming during the day? You know, this is also a good reason. So that means you could be able to take my class through YouTube, where I can't take attendance. So here's the lowdown. I'm taking attendance with screenshots. I'm doing that right now. So I know who's here and who's not, right? Now, that's not really for the sake of torturing anyone. So later on, I could say, well, you remember when we discussed such and such? Or I could talk to the head of the department. I noticed people who came to class physically got higher grades, right? If that's so. Or I might say, yeah, I noticed there was no difference between people who took it all through YouTube, which would really change things also. So I'm going to take attendance, but don't be spooked by it. Here's what I'd like to say to you. If you can, come here every single class for one good reason. It's more fun. You're gonna see that we're gonna create a real community vibe in this class, you know, and that just pushes us all forward. So if you're the kind who needs motivation, come to class. I am very motivating, I've been told, right? So come, be motivated, be excited, join in, you know. If you cannot, don't expect vengeance on my part. That won't happen. I'm a nice guy. I'm gonna have to judge you mostly by the homework. So here's the deal with the homework. I went from giving too much homework to giving too little. Right now, I am currently giving too little. Most people are like, yes! But is that really good? I don't know. You know, if I give a little bit more homework, you do more practice and you're gonna come out. Always at the end of the class, what I hear from you guys are things like, man, did I love the video part. I've changed my major, and I'm so glad that I did every video exercise. Or I love the web design part. Strange number of my students love the web design part best, which is where we're going to start. And they're like, no, I have to be a web designer. So those are almost always the people who came physically and joined me who say those kinds of things. But I don't know. This is one last thing about this subject, about the videos. The people who like the videos tell me, you know, the videos feel so real. One student told me, I keep talking to the video. I think I'm talking to you. And then I remember, oh, this isn't live. Because those of you who come live are going to create a warm atmosphere for those who can't. And they're going to feel part of our circle as best they can, which is like a gift that we're going to share. So I just want to point something out. So on the handout, this is a playlist. Oh, I just found my chats. They're hiding behind everybody. All right, hang on a second there, guys. Let me just see. You know, I really wish it was easier for me to troubleshoot everybody. You know, I attempted to admit everyone. Let me see if there's something else I can do. Give me a second. One or two people are having a hard time getting in. I hope that I just solved it, right? Some people are having trouble with the audio. It's got to be on your end, right? And I can't get on around your computers with, there's over 25 people by now, right? So this is going to take a little while. I wish I could sign, but what I'm going to ask is that handout, hopefully you'll be able to hear me on the YouTube video if necessary and fix whatever tech issues you have. A little abstract music going there. All right. Remy, can you turn your mic off? Is that possible? Only because you're getting a lot of feedback. I guess you got in. I'm hoping. Folks, thank you all for your patience. As I said, as each week goes by, it'll take less and less patience because everyone will have figured out their own details. I'm going to go back to the handout just now. All right, so this link will be on every handout. So you'll see it again Tuesday, for example. The videos link, and this will be the same. It's a playlist. So I erased everything from last semester at this stage. The first video will go up later today. Folks, I just want to say one more thing. I heard someone mention that they think it's $30 a month to get the Creative Cloud. That's a lot higher than it was just a couple months ago. If you do go online to get your own copy of the Creative Cloud, the all-inclusive Adobe suite, make sure that you look for the student price, and there'll be a link. They recognize our school, and you'll get a very cheap price. Yes, Anne.
It says
And the chat
That,
says $30 a year.
for students? Really? Anne, I saw you raising your hand. Was it the same for you?
Just in the chat, it says $30 a year, not a month.
Year. That's very unlikely.
That's for the first year only.
You know what? If that happened, that's brand new and it's a miracle. That's the cheapest price ever. Run out and get it. I mean, early this year, it was $17 a month and you had a 1-year contract. So it was a couple $100. You know, I have to admit though, you would typically pay more than that for just Photoshop. In this case, you get everything. People like to draw. It includes Adobe Illustrator. It's amazing. If it really is $30 for a year, that must be some kind of COVID thing. And I would seize the day if you're interested in the arts at all. So I'll try to check that out on my own so I can give people some conclusive information, right? All right, let me get back here. I wanna spend some time today just giving you a better idea of what we're actually gonna do. This has all been tools oriented. So you all know about iraworks.com/BMCC. You could tell it'll be easy to get around because the handout links to everything you need, reminds you of everything you need. So right now I just want to talk to you about the juicy stuff, the real stuff. So the subject breakdown is web design, as I already mentioned. It's a kind of short part. The class has got about 5 modules in it. So on the average, about 5-6 sessions, 2 or 3 weeks each. You'll be surprised how much we can do when it comes to web design. It's it's surprisingly fun. Look, guys, I want to confess something. You're talking to a guy who lives a very elaborate fine art life. For a whole community out there, I'm better known as a fine artist. Other people know me better as a designer. When I started as a web designer, I went in kicking and screaming. I didn't want to do it. I'll be blunt, I went in for the money. But then it wound up being so much fun, which I just didn't expect. And that was years ago, and now I'm frankly in love with it. So we're gonna start with web design. I think a lot of you are gonna absolutely love it. All right, let me move on a little bit. We're gonna go into photo imaging with Photoshop. And some of you guys know some Photoshop, learned it elsewhere. Some of you have never touched it. I gotta tell you, nobody doesn't like Photoshop once they've gotten a good chance to use it. Typically, you're manipulating photos. And what that means is you're either making things look better than the original photo, or you're getting wildly creative in what's typically called photo montage, and you're changing photos. I'm really into astronauts right now, so I might take all of us and put us in spacesuits, you know, and that's Photoshop magic. Then put us all in outer space. So we're going to be doing a lot of really weird, fun stuff in Photoshop. So that's going to link right from the web design stuff, because naturally to do web design, you need photos. So the Photoshop's going to start there, and then we're going to do just some straight up digital photography together. I'm going to be moving into sound, and that's sound editing. So there may be musicians in the class, so we're not actually going to be making raw sound, but I will be including a little information about how one might do that. But we're going to be talking about correcting sound. So in other words, let's say you wanted to do a podcast. You want your voice to sound radio style, right? And you know, a lot of that will be about how you mix the sound. You might want to add music, so that's going to be multi-tracking in sound. And we're going to be doing all of that with a free program, by the way, an amazing free program called Audacity. Animation is one of my favorite things to do. A few of you are heading into animation, and some of you will be taking my class, in fact, next semester, which is MMP100, which is Intro to 2D Animation. So some people go from my class, this one, right into that one, and they have a small advantage because I've taught things getting you ready for that semester. Some of you are just going to have fun doing it. You have no interest. And I want to tell you soon why I think everyone should apply themselves to everything, regardless what your plans are for your own economic and creative future, right? But first, let me finish this. Then we're moving into video editing. Video editing is a wonderful and highly addictive art form. Frankly, it's probably one of the most powerful art forms in existence because we're constantly being manipulated by the video editor. That's a heavy word, manipulated. But if you're watching a romance movie and you're reaching for the tissues and you're like crying, you've just been manipulated. So I don't mean in a bad way. You know, you see any artwork, you're being manipulated. You felt one way and now you're looking at the artwork and you feel a different way. So I don't mean politically manipulated, but I mean that also. So video editing is very, very powerful when you take stuff and you change the order and you choose what you like and you mix in images. You know, to be honest with you, let's say you don't like the president. Let's just say, right? And you're watching a video of him speaking and it keeps cutting to waterfalls and cutting to little babies, you know, and little kittens. You know, you feel warm and fuzzy afterwards because the video editor used his craft. You might be angry about that kind of stuff when it comes to politics. And you know, both sides of the fence do it all the time. I worked in news, so I know this very, very well. And when we get there, I'll talk more about it. So anyway, video editing, every movie you love, by the way, wouldn't have been nearly that good if it had a lesser video editor. You could always give credit to the director, the writer, the star of the movie. But bottom line of it, really equal to all of those at least is the editor, the one who assembles it. I think you guys are going to love it. I want to mention what comes last typically, unless I go out of order this semester for other reasons. JavaScript. So that's returning to code. So the kind of JavaScript we're going to use is called P5. So I just want to say a little bit about what is it and why. So HTML, you see what you're doing. You're actually designing you're using a language, but you're designing something visual. But when people talk about programming, they usually don't mean that. They mean like, oh, I'm going to write a program that predicts climate behavior 10 years from now, right? That'd be a pretty interesting program, right? So it isn't a visual thing. Or maybe you're programming a new operating system. People don't like a Mac anymore, or Windows, or Android for that matter, and you're going to design the new one, you know? That's programming. So the school would like people to get a taste of programming, and what we've chosen to do is use a very artistic programming language, which is a subset, a child of JavaScript. And the child is called P5. P5 is very, very popular amongst artists and creative people because you can make visuals with it. You can make things that respond to the mouse so that your audience could actually interact.
Oh, he just lagged.
Yeah, I think he was lagging.
Okay, I thought it was mine. It was my computer.
Chats.
F in chat.
Rose, you asked me if I'm all right. Do I look disturbed or something? I
You were
froze.
lagging.
Oh, I
You
froze.
did there
Did
for
I?
a second, not gonna lie.
Oh.
Yeah, you froze for a bit.
You know, all right. I was kidding there. That was just me. I like to do that now and then. Sorry, I can't help myself. You know, in fact, I was going to enlist someone in my family to Zoom with us so I could actually hand a drink into the next box. You know, they would just have their computer next to me and everybody be like, how did he do that? Give me one. All right, anyway. I'm sorry that I froze. Yeah, it looks like I lagged for everybody at once. Hey, you know, Zoom did not expect to become an empire. I don't think they're really prepared for the number of people Zooming right now. You know, over the next week, it might get a little worse as all the schools starting after us kick in. So, all right, you know, it's okay to let me know if, in case I said something urgent, I could back up. All right, you know, today I'm going to end a little early, not just yet. I got a little bit more to say. I want to move on a little bit and just talk to you a little bit about the first subject. So as I said, the class runs through like little chapters. And you really, one way to stay emotionally prepared is not to take on too much. You know, and I want to say this to you guys as individuals, by the way. If you're taking 4 or 5 classes this semester or more, I hope you're not. But if you're taking more, think 1 or 2 classes at a time. Today, what am I doing tomorrow? You know, the next day, that's too much. You know, once you got a handle on the first 2 classes, then you look at the next one in order. You know, write yourself a plain old English calendar so you don't get wiped out. Now, in my class, I'll keep you posted. This is what we're doing. I'll let you know a few days early when we're going to switch subjects so everyone's feeling ready. The first one, as I said, is web design. So I want to switch over to that subject a little bit. So I want to say something about the internet today. You know, when you were little, the internet was not what it is right now. Now, I don't know if your parents, you know, gave you a cell phone when you were 3. They might have. You know, I think most of us, that didn't happen, you know. My generation, parents who were busy put their kid in front of the TV. Your generation, they might have put you in front of a computer. But in your lifetime, video became the norm on the computer. You know, that wasn't true 5 years ago. You know, video was there, but it was bad. You know, it was slow and it hung up a lot, you know, while it was streaming. Now it's getting better. Another cross finger. But the internet now is integrated TV, which is why I believe that TVs are going to fade out. You know, maybe computers too. It'll be something else. CompuVision, you know, whatever. Some kind of weird hybrid of what we're used to. So what about tablets? And what about your phone? So I gotta say, when you're a web designer, you have no choice nowadays but to make sure your website looks awesome on everybody's device. And that's a real challenge. If you studied with me 10 years ago, you just cared about computers. Your big concern was how big are the different computers? How do I make a website that works on my little laptop and my friend's like huge computer? You know, that was the question. But now you have to deal with like, has to look good on the phone, and it has to look good if they turn the phone. And what if they upgrade and they got an iPad or something like that and they turn the iPad? That's called responsive design. Any of you guys headed that way, really want to do web design, I want to say a few things. There's lots of money for people who go far in web design. The web design world wants more women. I really want to be blunt. I'm being very frank. The guys in here, I'm not saying you shouldn't become web designers, right? There's going to be plenty of room for everybody because the web keeps getting bigger. It's just that women have proven to be every bit as good as men in everything, including web design, and there's a shortage. So Bill Gates from Windows has made appeals to women, especially young women, to learn how to code. Steve Jobs from Apple did the same thing before he died. It's prime time to learn this stuff for everybody. I would also like to add, if you're a writer, a poet, or even a visual artist, you may want to learn how to web design just so you could publish yourself, just so you could have an audience. You know, I'm sure a lot of you are on Instagram, you know, and some of you have a handful of people, some of you have a few thousand people or more on Instagram, and it's fun to have an audience. But to be able to publish whatever you want, that's powerful. And you're going to really learn almost everything you need to do that this semester. So that's pretty exciting stuff. So we're going to start with that. And as much as possible, I'm going to teach you what will make it work well on big screens as well as small screens. But I want to be fair. That's a big subject. So I believe it's MMP240. That's the next web design class. People who take it love this stuff with me, want to learn more. After the semester, they're going to head to MMP240. We have some fabulous teachers there. They're really going to focus on what's called responsive design again, so it responds to different kinds of device. So I'm going to do my best to get us well off the ground. So it's a form of communication design. Guys, listen, can I just jump in and say something for anybody who's getting tired? It is tiring hearing someone talk for nearly 2 hours. You know, we're only 1 hour in, and I'm not going to do this usually. I'm going to try to keep it under 15 minutes, but sometimes maybe a half hour. Usually it's going to be like, everybody do this with me. How'd that go? All right, let's try this. And everybody, wow, some questions. Oh, this is how you do that. So it's going to be very hands-on. You know, right now I'm talking up a storm on day one. All right, so back to that storm. Communication design is the larger subject. Now, I'm kind of curious, how many of you guys are going into the arts? At least that's your current intention. Graphic design, web design, animation, movies. There's a lot of people, over half the class. All right, so really, you're all communication designers. And frankly, schools need to drop terms like graphic design or web design because it's starting not to matter. You know, really, you may become a specialist. So I just want to back up for a minute. Usually, if someone says graphic design, they mean ink. So they mean like a physical newspaper, a physical magazine, physical books, posters on the subway, something that was made with ink on paper. Packages, for example, you know, you bought your shampoo and it came in a box, the bottle also. That's all graphic design. Usually, if they say multimedia, these days, that keeps changing what it means, you know. But these days, multimedia usually means on the screen. So there's no ink, right? So I'm talking now web design and movies and animation and what am I leaving out? Games, for that matter, right? And other stuff, the more we think about it. So it's either screen-based or paper-based by and large. So obviously this is a screen-based class. Those of you who are interested in works on paper, I love works on paper. I've taught that stuff at great length. This class isn't going to focus on that. Here and there, I'm going to compare them so that you can tell when it matters. Like in Photoshop, it really matters. You have to know if you're going to print it or not to make the right decisions. So we're starting with web design, very much a modern screen-based art form. Notice on my handout, it goes on to say text and images to begin with. And what do I even mean by that? Well, yeah, it means if you're really into it or you're working on a large team, you're going to want to put videos on those websites too. And in your own lifetime, you've seen that increase by the day. More and more videos. And I'm not talking about Netflix or Hulu right now, or even YouTube. I'm talking about integrated video. Here's all the text, and then here's the little video of you know, the interview or whatever that goes with it. It's a huge improvement on communication design, but also interactive animation. So I just want to say something short to the animators in here. This school's animation classes focuses on broadcast, meaning, you know, TV and things you just watch. Interactive animation is like games, right? That's interactive. You know, you make choices and all that. It would come down the road. One would want to learn about programming in general and animation in general if they wanted to head into games. And I do believe we don't have game design classes, but we have a lot of these other elements. And if I'm wrong, you feel free to correct me. I'm more than sometimes wrong. All right. So text and images is just the beginning. We're not going to integrate video and the other things. Maybe we'll get overexcited and squeeze some stuff in. But by and large, I have to make time for all these subjects this semester. So what you could expect on Tuesday, guys, listen, I'm staying positive. I'm excited, but I hate to make believe I know what next week's going to look like, because all of CUNY, which is the size of a country, you know, I don't know, it's like 50,000 students, I don't know what it is figuring out how to handle classes like mine, how to make sure everybody's got the tools. So, and they're still working on it because it's that difficult to do. So again, if all goes the way I want, we'll be ready by Tuesday. So what I want to do on Tuesday is have everyone make a couple web pages with me right then and there, right on Tuesday. You know, simple web page that links to another simple web page. And then by Thursday next week, more pages. Or Tuesday the following week, pictures and colors and fonts and fun stuff that quickly. Right? That's what I would like to see. All right. Let's see now. I just want to say a little bit about going live. So right now I'm focusing totally on web design. Subject 1, chapter 1, right? About going live. So I want to say something about what we're going to do next week. So next week, you're going to make little websites to get started. And then the real thing that's weird about it, though, is you're still going to be the only one who could see it, right? So because the website's going to live on your machine, whatever kind of machine you're using. When you go on the internet, what has happened is the artist, the designer, made the website locally. That means on their computer, locally, tested it, perfected it, shined it like a diamond, and then when they felt ready, they uploaded it. A lot of you have uploaded things, you know, something to YouTube or to Instagram or Facebook. So you know what I'm talking about. The audience gets it once it leaves your computer or your phone or whatever the device is. So uploading is not going to be part of this class, but what I am going to do is include helpful information about how to go the next step. So I don't want to say a lot today, but I am going to say a little. 2 things one would need to do to take what you learn in my class and get yourself a website online, handmade, is 1, you'd have to get yourself a cool web address, right? I've had a lot of web addresses, but iraworks.com is my main web address. Now I asked you all go to iraworks.com/BMCC. What is that? It's a piggybacked website. I have a whole website hiding on iraworks.com. I have /FIT because I also teach at FIT and a bunch of other schools over the years. They're all hidden websites, which you can do when you have your own website. The thing is, iraworks.com did better for me than other websites I had. The name caught on, people tend to remember it, and for whatever reason, it just gets more hits than other websites that I had. So step one, after learning the skills, would be to find a web name, an address. And I will tell you how to look for it later this semester if you don't know how to do that. Just a quick word. It might be nice to find out if your name's available. Most of you guys have slightly unusual names in the sense that here we are in the US, so we have mixed names, mixed culture names. Your name might be available. Like my name, it looks kind of unusual to a lot of you guys, right? Probably. Ira Epstein. Amongst Jewish folks, it's really common. It's like John Smith or something. So iraepstein.com would never be available. It's not going to happen. But if you have a more unusual name, your name.com might still be available. Something to look up. On the other hand, if you're heading into the commercial arts, commercial means money, then take care if you use your own name. Is it easy to remember? Does it confuse people? Will people know how to pronounce it? If all those things strike you as a disadvantage regarding money, then it's a time to think about how you make those choices, and you'd have to come up with a name that you'd enjoy using that's a little bit easier to remember. So name. Once you found a name, right, and you lock it in, the next thing you need is a hosting account. I am currently recommending GoDaddy.com. And anyone who can't wait to learn more from me could always visit GoDaddy.com. There's a few things you could do there. You could see if the name you want is free. Just be prepared, right? Because there are more websites than human beings. So there's a very good chance that that name's already taken, so you're going to have to think a little out of the box. So you can go to GoDaddy to see if the name is free. Then you'd buy a hosting account, and you would get the cheapest one they have, probably about $7, $8 a month. And then when you know how to make your website, we'll talk about how you would upload it to GoDaddy. GoDaddy, because it's like a network. You had a TV show, you'd want to do business with like Netflix or ABC. They would broadcast it. The only difference here is you pay to do it. They're not paying you. So GoDaddy's a good place to serve that purpose. So I just want to give you a little heads up. All right, let me just wrap up a bit of the kind of things I said. I'm getting these emails. I sure hope they're not about class. I'm going to have to ignore them right now. So the class is a tour, but it's a deep one. I'm not known for lightweight teaching, so fair warning. But I think a lot of you want something juicy out of school. Really, you're here to learn. I know a lot of you here for the degree, also good reason, by the way. But the best reason is 50-50. You just like learning, and the other 50%, the power of the degree. This class is going to be some heavy-duty learning. You're all different majors, and this is one point I've been wanting to make since class started. Let's say you're in one major, and so you're excited about that part of our class. You're going into video, and you just can't wait for that part of the class. Why would you pay attention to everything else? Let's say you're a liberal arts major or a tech major. We have lots of people here who are going to be tech, masterful technicians and tech support. For all of these reasons, you want to be a literate 21st century human being. If you were in the world in the year 1700, right? The printing press had only just been invented a little while earlier, and you knew how to read, you were ahead of everybody. The printing press was just made, and you knew how to read. And if you didn't know how to read, that was the disadvantage. That was literacy then. Literacy now is mostly digital media. It's not just reading anymore. So to be a well-rounded person, you want a good, deep taste of all the media that leads our culture forward. You know, when you're watching the Democratic National Convention, or you're watching the Republican National Convention, or if you're a masochist, you're watching both, you will know how the lighting affected that person's speech, how the lighting affected it. You'll know how the cutaways affected it. You'll know if someone gives a speech next to Mount Rushmore and their head is this big because the camera's up that close, how the artist figured that out and why they figured that out and what point you were trying to make. You know, to be literate in the 21st century, you need your hands on the media of the 21st century. So regardless of your major, I'm going to ask you to try your very best, right? You can go into this knowing you got your feet on the ground for the brave new world that we're in, which is digitally driven, you know. I want to say something about your art majors, since half the class or more are different kinds of art majors. So if you're an animator, you should know a little bit about the web. Those animations might go on a website. And frankly, not always like The Simpsons. They may be different shapes because maybe you're getting work in advertising and the shapes are different. And how are you going to know how to think about that animation if you don't know anything about the web, which cares about the shape and the size and whether it's responsive and how big your file is. And what's more, if you're an animator, you should learn about video and vice versa, because these things mix, and they mix with web design, and they mix with Photoshop, and they mix with everything that I'm teaching this semester. So what's going to happen by the end of the semester, some of you are going to be like, okay, now I know what I want to do. I want to be multimedia. You know, I want to be the person who conducts the orchestra rather than just playing the flute. And if you want to conduct the orchestra, you have to play everything a little, at least a little, so that you could see how it all fits. And that's the way our culture fits. Look, guys, I want to tell you something, and this is a small confessional. So I worked at a newspaper. It was a liberal newspaper, pretty liberal. It was called the Earth Times. And at first I got there unwillingly. You know, I needed work and I had a certain skill set. But then I fell in love with news and working in news. But they asked me to do some strange stuff. And when I look back, I might have made different decisions. Nothing evil, but gray. So here was one. There was an ambassador at the United Nations. I don't remember what country he represented. A friendly ambassador, as far as I could tell, fighting the good fight. You know, somebody who cared about other people. But they didn't always like him, so he had to travel with bodyguards. So everywhere he went, he had these big bruiser-looking dudes behind him. And we were going to do an article in the newspaper, front page of this guy, and the photo we had these big bulldogs behind him. And he heard about it, and he's like, you realize everyone's going to be afraid of me as soon as you put that picture up on the front page. You know, I look like a bully. I'm walking around with bodyguards, and it's only because I'm not safe, because I'm fighting the good fight. So my boss told me to take the bodyguards out. Right? I know some of you are thinking, that's fine. And some of you are thinking, shouldn't have done that, Ira. That's, you know, manipulating. And really, it's a good question. We're not here to debate it, but it's a good question. I realize it's a question. You know, there were things I have refused to do digitally because they struck me as not moral. I'm not going to take someone who's not been proven guilty and make them look guilty, which newspapers do all the time. It's so easy to make someone look guilty. I could take any of you in this room and make you look like you haven't slept in a week. You know, that's not how good guys look on TV, right? So, you know, one has to be careful with the skills you're going to learn in this particular class. And I really hope I got a lot of people here who care and very few who hate, because the skills that I'm giving you are dangerous in the wrong hands. I taught on 9/11 that day. And I went in there thinking, wow, it's propaganda that made people hate us this much, that led to a lot of people getting hurt. Propaganda is on the media. So please watch what you read, test what you read, right? Examine everything. And when it's your turn to communicate, please do your best to communicate something that makes the world better, whatever that is to you. Hey, come on, somebody must have a question about my class.
Not really, just want to listen.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody, you want to just raise your hand? It's okay. Go, Rose.
Speaking of file size, I wanted to ask, how large would you estimate the file for Sublime text is?
The Sublime itself is really light because it's made out of pure
Oh,
code.
goodness.
So it's really small. It'll fit on anybody's computer. Very light program. You know, like Microsoft Word is huge. Microsoft Office takes up a huge chunk of your computer. A Sublime is very light. But I have to say, as creatives, the weight of your web page is going to be a concern. So you've all been to a website, right, that doesn't load, and you're sitting there like waiting. And usually what happens is, like, after a little while, a photo shows up, and then another photo, and that means somebody was reckless when they made that website. The number one problem that slows down a website is oversized photographs. Because in our culture, we all take photos and we never check their size. We're shooting with our phone. Most of us never checked how big the phone setting is, or even if you got a good camera, you might not have ever checked. So if you're going to do a 3,000 pixel wide, some of you guys speak pixels, we're all going to learn about pixels. It's a measurement. But a 3,000 pixel wide photograph is about 3 times the size of an average website. It's huge. And even if you did your code so that it fits on screen, all that data still went through the phone or through the cable that got to your visitor's house. And that's why it's so slow. It was reckless. So when I'm talking about file size, I want to be really frank. Of all the subjects we're learning, the only one that cares really big time about file size is web design. Because it cares about whether it streams to your audience without them having to wait, because they'll leave. I would say that other areas, like the video people in this room, I want to say something to you. File size in video is a big subject, and 3D, by the way. I don't do 3D, folks. I don't want to disappoint anybody, but it's on the list of things I don't know much about. But video, I do. A movie is huge. It's huge. I wish I had a hard drive with me, but usually you get a hard drive for one movie. If you're doing a feature-length movie, it's going to need at least a whole hard drive for the one movie. That's how big they got. You know, if you're doing short movies, you know, 10, 20, 30-minute movies, you could fit a bunch of movies on a hard drive, but you would never put it on your own computer because you use up all the space in your computer, right? So I want to say a couple words to you about file sizes of the computers you're all going to be working on, your own computer or school's loan, Chromebooks, etc. Just bear with me for a second. I want to say something about sizes and a useful computer. 2 things you hear a lot is this: RAM and hard drive, right? RAM and hard drive. And it's really worth going over for a minute what the difference is. I want to apologize to anyone in this room who builds computers. I always have 1 or 2. And, do you? Aisha, I may have to ask you questions sometimes. You know, I had a computer builder over the summer. This guy was so helpful. Any weird stuff that went wrong, he was like, oh, I think I know what it is. And he walked people through. So you might be a great asset. But I just want to say in general for everybody, what's the difference? Hard drive space is like a file cabinet. So if you have a file cabinet, you're going to keep folders in there from last year. RAM is the power to take a file out. So I want to give you an example. Have any of you gone swimming this summer? Now, if you did, I just took the file out and you're thinking about that beach. It was in your hard drive, but you didn't need it. So it was sleeping back there in your hard drive. As soon as I asked you about it, it went into RAM and you were able to say, yeah, I did. Have you ever had a favorite animal? Right, and if you have a pet, right now you're seeing your pet. I just took it out of the hard drive and I brought it into RAM. So I got to say about the power of computers, you need a lot of both. Video people, they need huge hard drives because the movies, even asleep, just take so, I'm talking gigabytes, maybe terabytes of data. People who draw, if you use Adobe Illustrator, those files are usually very small. You don't need a big hard drive. So it really depends on your field. RAM. RAM is how much you could take out and use at once. So in other words, if I was going to ask you about your personal life, about your politics, about your creative life, and your favorite band all at once, you'd be like, whoa, I don't have enough RAM to deal with that. You'll sometimes hear me say, one question at a time. I don't have enough RAM for that. 5 people talk to me at once, I can't handle it. So you see what I'm saying? So really, like, you know, your generation likes having a lot of programs open. So I don't know about you, but a lot of people your age, they'll have 5, 6 things open, you know, at once, as well as 25, 30 tabs on the internet. And that's all RAM. So if your computer slows down, here's some advice for you that's practical. If you're in Zoom, right, and it's glitching on you, right, first thing to do is find out if you have other programs you left open. You know, are we not using Photoshop that day? Close it. You know what I mean? Are you playing a video game on the side? You know, I'm not going to get mad at you. I won't even know. But it's surely going to slow your computer down. So the general rule is if you're using a software that's demanding, you put everything else away. They could stay on your hard drive if your hard drive's big enough, but it's RAM that's really going to control how happy you are while you're working. If anybody's buying a computer anytime soon, you kind of have to know what your ambitions are. You're welcome to write me about it. I don't claim to be an expert about brands and stuff, but I would say this. If you're going into the arts, other than writing, the other arts, almost all of them, they take a lot of RAM and they take a lot of hard drive. You know, you're a musician, music takes up a lot of room, you know, and a lot of RAM when you're 20 tracks of music and now I need a cowbell, so I need another track. Because you always want more cowbell, right? So you know when you buy, just ask how big's the hard drive, and you know how much RAM is there, and if possible, say how much RAM can it take? I want it now because RAM is cheap. Anybody any questions about that since I brought it up?
I got a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead, Jerson.
So what would be like a normal size hard drive and normal size RAM, and what would be like a big size?
You know, that's such a good question, and I should really have an answer for you, but frankly, I only study that every 5 years when I have to throw out my last computer. This computer's getting a little old right now, but I would say, you know, really honestly, Justin, I don't even want to bluff you. I think I would search that very question.
Okay.
You know, what is a big hard drive? And you'll get some really thoughtful answers. Or, you know, Aisha, do you know the answer to that?
Google.
That's one way. But she builds computers, so. Your mic's off, though.
Yeah, I know. A big hard drive right now is probably like 5 terabytes, maybe.
Wow.
They're getting cheaper, especially SSDs, which are like faster hard drives because they have no moving parts inside of them. You can get like 1 or 2 terabytes for like $200, and that'll last you for a long time.
So yeah, terabyte is huge. I got to say, like 1 terabyte is like really, really huge. So when it comes to 5, 10 terabytes, again, on your own computer, the only person I can imagine who would use that,
Like professional level.
professional and a reckless professional.
Yeah.
You know, because it means they're doing such big data, they should just get a really good external hard drive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you plug it into your computer, and this way you could stack them up. People have libraries of external drives who make movies all the time. I made a 36-minute movie that took an entire drive. I don't even remember how big it was. It was only 36 minutes. The thing was, there was 1,000 hours of footage to make the 36-minute movie. So all 1,000 hours had to fit on that drive. That's a good question, and Jerson, and thank you, Aisha, for kicking in.
Yeah, because I don't know about like all those numbers. That's why I asked.
That's a
Yeah.
smart question. Yeah, so I like her idea. 1 or 2 terabytes at least nowadays is probably a good idea. I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious about RAM, though. Like, yeah, what would you say is average RAM and generous RAM?
Right now, like maybe 8 or 16 is still kind of the average.
Wow.
And then anything above that is like you're getting into, I have money to splurge just because, or I'm doing something like crazy. But 8 to 16 should be fine.
That's interesting, because I have to admit, like, Aisha knows more about the hardware than I do, but that sounds like a little to me. So it could just be the kind of work that I do. So
Yeah, it depends on what you're doing with it.
I don't know how much RAM I have, which is what everybody would like to know right now. But since I jumped through all these art forms that I'm going to be teaching this semester a lot, I need a workhorse computer. So I'm always getting an Apple PowerBook Pro. So I always go right to the strongest laptop that Apple uses. And I will often ask them how much RAM it can take. And if I can, I'm always like, just give me that. If I have to wait an extra week, sometimes I'll be like, I'll wait. Go to the Apple store or something and I need the strongest machine with the most RAM. The hard drive space, I just buy external hard drives as I go. So, but that's very helpful. She's saying 8 megabytes, 16 should do it. Look, I got to say about this semester though, the movies we make are going to be short. They're going to be under a minute. You're going to be shocked at how much work that is. And that's the biggest data of this semester is going to be the videos, which is coming later in the semester. They're going to be the biggest. The animations we do are going to be based on vector drawings. We're going to learn what that means. Vector is light, very fast. So you're not going to need weightlifting computers for anything. The videos are going to be the harshest, but even those, they're a minute long. I think most of us should be fine. Like one of my concerns is, it's new to me that we could get Chromebooks to do all of this. And my boss at BMCC is brilliant, and he got himself a Chromebook to be able to test all of this. He is truly brilliant. And by the way, he teaches the advanced web design class. So he's like, okay, I've proven to myself it can be done, but there are some bumps. And that's why he hasn't released the information about how to do it until they fix those bumps. So even the Chromebooks, which are a little smaller hard drives and a little less RAM, should be able to do everything that we need. Any other questions? Anybody in here? I'm going to take a peek at my chat if I don't see anyone waving at me. Let me see. Give me a second, folks. Hey, listen, guys, I really do appreciate you all supporting each other via chat like that. Feel free to continue doing that. One thing that I have not yet figured out, I have colleagues who have good ideas for me, is ways to create an environment where you could be there for each other, show off your work, let people comment, fun stuff like that. This class leans a little too hard on me being on stage a lot. I will deliver everything in a very thorough way. I think you'll be glad, but it'd be better if I could find a way where you could give each other more feedback than just the chats. So I'm on the case, and once I figure out what the best option is, I know there's some bulletin board stuff in Blackboard maybe, and other environments, so I just want to see which one rises to the top. Any other questions for me? Because if not, I'm going to kind of wrap this up and say a couple things. I want to thank everybody here for being patient for what strikes me as mostly a lecture, in a fairly long lecture. Not the longest you'll ever experience at college, I can guarantee you, but fairly long. Depending on how things go, Tuesday should be different. I'm banking on it being different. Typically, the second class, we get busy fast. I do a very quick lecture at the beginning, very, very short. And then it's like, okay, everybody open Sublime Text with me. Everybody type this, save it this way. And then this is how you get it in a browser. And everyone's like, wow, my first website. It happens quickly. That's what I want to happen on Tuesday. But I'm banking on the support of really brave technicians in our tech department. One thing I really don't understand is why there's not a CUNY-wide, barring all that brain power together to figure out how to handle this strange moment in time. But I've been in large institutions before. It seems to be always that way. We act like a private country, the MCC. But I know we're very, very close. Tomorrow I teach a 4-hour class without the software. So it's going to break some hearts tomorrow. I'm gonna do a half a class. unless a miracle happens today. So anyway, here's what I'd like to say to everybody in terms of its final wrap up. If you do happen to have your own Windows or Mac computer, why not go ahead and get yourself a copy of Sublime? It's called the Sublime Text Client. If they give you more than one choice, it's the Sublime Text Client. Get the newest version that they offer you. Most of you are in Chrome right now, and you all saw that whatever browser you're in was fine. But if you'd like to see what Chrome is like, because that's the one I'll be using, get yourself a copy of Chrome if you don't already have it. These two. Now, if you're currently without a suitable computer, do not delay. I really mean it. Today is the day. Take the 3 steps outlined in working at home above. So working at home is this. These little marks here are the 3 things I'm talking about. Take the survey so the school could brace itself, figure out if they have to run out and get more stuff or how to spend the money. This you absolutely have to do. Currently, they're only offering us Chromebooks, and I do hope that they prove elegant for our purposes, because that really does change the map of what's possible. So they're offering us Chromebooks at this point. Please follow these steps. I've not done them myself, so you'll keep me posted later. If you would like my support, I'm developing a list of people who have that issue. And I'll keep it to myself, but I can call the head of my department and say, hey, look, I only have 3 people waiting for the Chromebooks. You know, can we make sure they get it? But I won't know your name unless you fill me in. So here's the stuff to write me. It's only 3 steps. I know it's a bit bothersome, but I am going to ask you to do all 3. This one here is the most urgent because you're going to have to physically pick up that Chromebook when they have it ready. So you want to get that off the ground. If there's a last question, either chat me right away or wave at me. Turn on your mic. Okay, folks, I hope you found the system pretty doable, right? Everybody knows how to get to the handouts now. If anyone wants to look over the syllabus, it's online. I said everything on the syllabus that's interesting, you know. I frankly left out everything that's boring, you know. I want to leave you with one last thought. Your tour guide here is an outspoken, left-leaning liberal, and I'm going to try to be very kind to people who are far more conservative than me, because my heart includes everybody as much as possible. And I'm trying to encourage use of communication design because beauty elevates everyone's life. Communicating useful things elevates everyone's life. And all the media that I'm going to be teaching will make you a more powerful communicator. So in the spirit of diversity, by the way, my family is one of the most mixed families you're going to ever meet. We've got European, Asian, African blood at home. We don't have anything from Australia yet, or from the Arctic or Antarctic, but I'm looking forward to that in the next generation. So we could literally say we have everything in the bloodstream. We are very close right now. So I'm on everybody's side. Folks, it was a pleasure meeting you all. I hope it's going to be fun. I'm sure looking forward to it. I'll see you all Tuesday. If you know anybody who's had a hard time getting in, maybe share my email address with them or something like that. We had a big crowd, so I think everyone made it, but I don't know for sure. All right. I'll see you all Tuesday. All right. Have good luck with your other classes. I'll see you then.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
See
for
you.
everything.
Email me if you have more questions, right? And I'll get back to you.
All right.
All right.
Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Good
Okay.
day.
Good day.
Thank you.
Hey, my
Bye.
pleasure.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
I aim to be the last one out the door usually. Out the Zoom door, the virtual door. I'm also sticking around just in case. Usually people who wait till the very end have any questions. Any of you guys have questions for me now that there are fewer of us? How you doing, David?
How's it going, Professor? It's nice
Good.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How about you, Yazil? How are you? Guess your mic, maybe your mic's not working. Emily, I see you're saying goodbye. See you, Emily. Remy, did you get everything to work?
Yeah, I did.
You did great, great. It'll probably be easier. The first day always, even in a physical class, problems happen on the first day. Teacher can't find their key or the elevator broke. How you doing, David?
Good, good, good.
Good.
Excited for this course.
You know, I gotta say, oh, David, you have two Zooms open? Is one your phone and one your computer?
But no, it's on my computer. I was just in a hurry, like
Gotcha. No problem.
internet problems.
I think you're gonna like this class. I gotta say, it's an adventure, that's for sure. A creative one. So, all right, I'm gonna head out then. I'll see you on Tuesday.
Supervisor.
Bye-bye.